886. Now for a change, they're taking him for a ride. Let that be a good lesson to you. Always be sure and pay your income tax.
In Chicago, they never really believed that Capone would do any time at all after he was convicted on the income tax fraud. And they made a big show out of taking him to prison. They had guards all around him, heavy security. They got him out to San Francisco, and then he had to take a boat from San Francisco out to an island in the middle of San Francisco Bay called Alcatraz. At that time, Alcatraz was a maximum security prison. They sent only the hardest, toughest criminals in the United States to that prison. And, of course, in no time at all, Al Capone was the great godfather of the prison. He had much respect from all the other prisoners, and he was sort of a folk hero to them. They looked at him as a modern Robin Hood. And he became a tourist attraction in San Francisco. I was a young boy at the time. I sometimes think that started my career in following organized crime, because we were all excited that Al Capone was out in the middle of our bay. And as kids, we'd run down to the shore and we'd look out at the bay, and it's isolated, and foghorns are going off, and it's dismal and foggy. We'd say, oh, there's Al Capone's out there, Al Capone. And it was quite a thing for us. Now, he was convicted to spend 11 years. By his 5th year in prison, his mind started to come apart. They said he had a disease, and his brain was affected by the disease. However, he also was going crazy from being locked up, and it's called stir crazy among the prisoners. And he just became a babbling idiot out there. And they had a meeting of the officials, and they decided that they didn't want him to die in Alcatraz, and it would look very, very bad that somehow they'd killed him. So they released him. And when we heard he was being released, all of the kids in San Francisco rushed down to the bay. We want to see Al Capone, Al Capone. And here comes this poor, tottering figure in a bathrobe, nothing like the man we saw go in. He looked like he'd aged 50 years, and he was incoherent, and they let him off, took him down to the airport, put him on a plane, and sent him back to Florida, where he had a home. And he spent the rest of his life in Florida fishing in a swimming pool until he finally died, a broken old man, really, a man who died fairly young but looked like he was 90 years old when he died.
My personal feeling about him was he hurt the Italian people in this respect. You'd go look for a job and you'd be discriminated against. Or if you went out with a date with a girl who was a German girl, and the father knew your name was Tony Berardi, he'd say, God, he's a member of the mafia, you know. And that's true. That really happened.
As far as everybody always picking on the Italians, listen, the world needed an scapegoat, and happened to be the Italians. Nobody ever picked on the Irish, because the Irish were influenced with the newspapers. They were the editors. They knew what to black out. The First Amendment never worked for the Italians. Never did when they first came here. No amendment. The only amendment that ever worked was the Ten Commandments. Okay? When I was 15, now it's something like a lookout. The lookout for a bookie operation or something. You look, and if the police car goes around twice, you acknowledge them. I mean, everybody, quote unquote, says, "Oh, we grew up as altar boys," but there's a lot of people that didn't grow up as altar boys. The hard knocks of life. And when you're 15, 16 years old, it's a means of you're walking around with shoes with holes in, and I'm being very honest with you. Matter of fact, I think I was 15 years old before I knew you had to wear 2 socks that matched. You know, this is the truth. In my family, I come from a large family, and whoever got up first was the best dressed. And that's the way it went. And this was the life we knew. And I mean, I'm not degrading that life. I think that's probably the best culture part of life that I ever lived.
Well, Capone was like a hero to us. We all know about his kindness and his generosity to the poor, his bread lines, and his great donations to the charitable people, the church, so on and so forth. I don't know if there's any of the Capones left. I doubt it. It was a large family. I went to his mother's funeral, incidentally. Francesca, I think.